Well, I think I hit all the buttons. Hello, it is I, Chris Brogan, and welcome to this, your court-appointed opportunity to spend time with me on the Owner Insiders Q&A. This is one of the many benefits of being an Owner Insider, and for that, I'm so grateful that you are. Thanks for being part of this and for giving me the opportunity to do something to help you improve your buyer's experience and build out your company and do the cool stuff we can do. There are so few questions today, so please, sweet baby star.deity, for the love of the little tiny baby Buddha, please put a whole bunch of questions in the Q&A thing for the live. And as always, you know, there's hundreds of you. Feel free to send me questions ahead of time. I'm very happy to do this Q&A where I can consult with you and give you something that I charge other people $500 an hour for as part of your $100 a month. So let's take a look at the questions that I had mailed into me. One of them is from our resident attorney, Bob Schrader. Question number one, how do we get blog posts on Reddit and Feedly? Is it worth the effort? So getting yourself recommended on Feedly is going to be a really hard job for you. They have a sort of curation process that they go on. And on Reddit, it's really hard because they're not very much into self-promotion. Is it worth the effort? No, not really. However, you could take part in certain kinds of conversations on Reddit where your advice would be useful. So for instance, reddit.com/r-startups, for instance, there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. Is Kickstarter a good place for investors? My business just went freemium. Has anyone added Google One Tap? So you could start to see places where you might do some selling to these nice folk, you know. But remember that Reddit is kind of anti-commercial, so you know you have to go gently into those dark woods. So that's the answer to that question. Number two, which should be my primary focus on time and effort of SEO of website or blog, or promoting the outposts like Twitter, LinkedIn, etc.? It's always on your home base to create, and then going to the outpost to promote. It shouldn't take much time to promote on the outposts, but you should be making all your work to make your blog posts something that someone's going to come to and see and want to take advantage of the information that you have there. So the goal is, you know, you may write up a post called, you know, what should you, let's say we were talking about medical marijuana industry or even recreational marijuana industry. You could say, you could write a blog post about, you know, what should I know about the legality of medical marijuana if I wanted to start a business or be involved in that industry. That would be a great kind of post, right? And then you could walk your way through it, and then I would promote that on various places saying, hey, have you ever thought about what it would be to start one of these kinds of businesses, and then go from there. All right, I only have one more posted question, and I have 0 questions live right now, so feel free to ask me some live questions, or I guess we'll have nothing, and I'll scram and wish you all a great afternoon. All right, hi, Chris says, Lucas, I'm about to start creating my first online course. I have several ideas for big courses, 8 weeks, but is it a good idea to create a smaller, cheaper course to start with to test things and make sure I'll actually finish something? You kind of answered your own question there, Lucas. Should I make an epic 8-week course that I'm not sure if anyone's going to spend any time or money doing, and I'm not sure I'm going to be any good at creating, or should I make a small, simple one to see what's going on? If you look at what goes into something like, for instance, our Start Podcasting platform, you would understand that, you know, that's a webinar-sized thing. It was super fast, and it was really easy to create. You could even bunch that into a bunch of little modules and make that the size of a course, versus Online Course Maker itself, which is a pretty long, drawn out kind of a course. So you could try by making something smaller first. It doesn't have to be cheaper, but you could make something a little more brief, a little more simpler. Remember that duration of course and all that is not how you price a course. It is really important that the price of the course be something related to what the person's perceived value is, what they think the outcome is going to be, and what they're going to get from it, you know, and or partly what the market will bear. So if, for instance, it's something about how to build a let's see, how to build a how to promote your band to get the most people to show up on free nights where they're just trying to decide whether or not you're worth it or not, then, you know, that might be a course that someone would want. Again, bands don't have a whole lot of money, but just a thought. So you're looking for that. You're looking for the conflux of, can I make a simple enough course and inexpensive enough course that I can test it, but not necessarily just because of length or whatever. All right, so I got a couple questions. What platform are you recommending for websites right now? and for distributing newsletters. And how was your Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was good. I spent it with Jacqueline and her mom and her daughter Ava and my 2 kids, and we ate. My kids really love having Jones cooking, that's Jack's mom, and we had a lot of fun. The platform I'm promoting right now for website building, because Rainmaker is no longer something that we can use to make our own sites, is StudioPress Sites. See brogan.me/StudioPress. It is super, super, super easy. I've been working on a site just to test it out, and I actually made a video on that process at chrisbrogan.com. So let's see if I can find it really quick. StudioPress is actually just hosted WordPress. It's nothing fancy. There we go. So I have a site, my most recent blog post at the time of this recording, set up a website quickly with StudioPress Sites, and it shows you what it took me to do it. It was like a 5-minute video. So you can walk through it and see if that makes sense. I don't understand why it's there twice. That's kind of a little weird, but I'll fix that at some other point. So that answers that question. It's just basically WordPress, so that would definitely be it. I'm writing an article about 10 closet designers on top of their game. Is it best practice to link to their websites in the article, or just put their name and company? Oh, I would totally link. You want to refer people out to those people, Denise, because you're trying to share with those people, hey, I really like these people, and they're going to want to share that list around. When you've been around as long as I have, you get put on a lot of lists like this, and you start realizing that people sometimes are just making these lists just so you can get the shares, but you're doing it from a warm spot, so they're not going to feel that way, one would presume. What's the biggest waste of money and time I've made in business? That might be a several-hour answer, but waste of money and time. I mean, I did a lot of things. I launched a lot of things just to see what would come of them, and some things didn't work out. I bought, a lot of money into software development for platforms that ended up folding. I mean, there's a lot of things like that. Waste of time, yeah. The only places where I ever feel like I waste my time is sometimes with people, and I can tell you that you just try to recover it by learning. You try really hard to recover. Oh, Jane, you had asked also the question, what email platform? So Infusionsoft is still good. I'm really looking into ConvertKit as well. Nathan Barry is a nice guy. He makes ConvertKit. If I didn't have Infusionsoft, I would probably consider ConvertKit. So that's part of my answer, Alan. I don't know. You have to get back to me. Hi, Chris. What are the top 3 things you would recommend I do to increase my email list? I would take the course Earn More Customers. I would take the course Earn More Customers, and I would take the course Earn More Customers because I answer that by far. In short, things like building content upgrades, making sure you have a worthwhile pop-up. Stop doing so much attempts to get people to your free dumb PDF, because most people aren't going to like it. Not your free dumb PDF, but star.everybody's dumb PDF. I don't mean you. And I would do things to get some free webinars out there where people will sign up as for the webinar. So there you go. Carolyn, as my email list has grown, my open rates have dropped. This is to be expected, but I don't like that trend. One area I know that needs help is my subject lines. What suggestions do you have for create ones that are good opens but not silly clickbait? Wow, that's so weird. It's almost like I covered this fairly recently. So let's see. Do I remember my password? I think so. Yes, I do. So one of the most recent newsletters I sent out, I don't know if you still get my newsletter, but I would imagine find the angle to earn attention would be a good one. And in that, one of the things I point out is that our attention is waning and that we have to sort of streamline. But one of the things is to sort of find the angle on what gets people attracted to your storyline. So that's one that you might want to reread. Another one is when I talk about the fact that the byte is the new unit of measurement. So the way I would go about subject lines is I would think of what's going to get people, to take a click in some form or another. So for instance, let me just go to feedly.com and I'll show you some examples of the blog posts that I'm tracking and reading and whatnot. Connect with Facebook, I guess it was. Thank goodness. All right, so listen to these titles and see how they look to you. YouTube pulls plug on Bible videos. That is clickbait for sure, because I'm sure they're not closing down all Bible videos, but certain ones or something like that. I don't like number posts as much as I can help it, although my most popular posts ever both had numbers in them. Let's see. Artificial muscles give soft robots superpowers. I have no question that that's going to be like Big Hero 6 robots. Marvel's Runaways has a very weird connection to Doctor Strange. So if you look at it, a lot of the blog titles are starting to get very Englishy and very languagey, not so much SEO. So my most recent post is really straightforward. Set up a website quickly with StudioPress sites. The one after that, smart cities, companies using your face, and a primer on AI. Why I keep pushing so hard about blockchain. Will blockchain change real estate? Killer drone swarms, ambient computing, and Google measures chatbots. So as you start looking at these, Barbie in a hijab, your first AI friend, some other Brogan, and Hyperloop. So that's the one. So best open rates for email subject lines. There's a great post going around. You know, we analyzed a whole bunch of subject lines and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a list out there. So, you know, subject lines to kind of make yours more interesting. So for instance, Warby Parker's, uh-oh, your prescription is expiring. Groupon, the deals that make us proud, unlike our nephew Steve. King Arthur Flour, the timer's going off on your cart. That's kind of interesting. Manicube, don't open this email. Refinery 29, I got Botox and this is what it looked like. Boy, that I would click that. Zillow, what can you afford? There's very certain words that people end up wanting to use, and the words are things like, oh, what was it? Titles will make you, oh, these 7 guidelines. This is the other post I wanted to share with you. This is on Forbes. These 7 guidelines will make you better at coming up with your own titles that go viral. So anything that has blank blank will make you tends to do rather well. Appeals to emotion and curiosity, like tears of joy and what happened next kind of stuff, although that one's really overused. Not all seemingly appealing headlines are appealing, like blank simple tips and blank on a budget. It's saying that these aren't necessarily the best kind. Popularity breeds popularity. So in BuzzSumo's study, they said that the phrase goes viral really popped a lot of people to open stuff up. And then odd numbers still work, but the numbered posting is kind of losing some steam. And then I'm hitting continue and it's not continuing. That's okay. I think you get the point. So hopefully that'll help some of the answers, Carolyn. Lisa, sorry. This is to be expected, but I don't. Oh yeah, okay, that was Carolyn's question. Here we go. What's the difference between hosted WordPress and WordPress? So WordPress. So there's 2 types of WordPress. WordPress.com means that it's already pre-built for you, and then WordPress.org means that you can download the software and install it wherever you want. So StudioPress Sites is a platform built specifically to host websites like WordPress, specifically WordPress, and allows you to have a lot better stuff on there, and it kind of gives you a lot of added functionality because it's got some SEO stuff, it's got some server performer stuff, and it has all kinds of really cool stuff in there to make it run a little bit better for you. That's what I run all my new projects on that aren't on Rainmaker. So let's see. I have been doing a weekly call on Monday morning, 7:30 to 8, on one topic each week: inspiration, insights, and implementation. 2 questions. I know you didn't like the Motivate Me Monday. What would you rename? Would a podcast be a better venue? Yeah, so a podcast is better, Brenda Lee, because your people are going to take it with them. Podcasting is a big, huge trend. A lot of people are looking for more and more content to consume, so you can have a chance of breaking in. There are plenty of other inspirational types of whatever's going on, but you can kind of tune yours to get to the right people. Before you launch that podcast, you might not go with Motivate Me Monday. What you might go after is trying to think of what one specific thing you think you can help people do, in that sense of prosperity that you wanted to show people. You want to maybe put it down to one really specific area that has enough options for topics. So for instance, it might be, how faith makes you money kind of a thing, or, how faith helps you thrive is probably still too big. And I guess what we're looking for is like, how do we get you to, you know, a space where people know why they're coming to you and understand the value they're going to give. I think we'll take a little bit more brainstorming. Feel free to ask that in the Slack group, by the way, because I think people there would probably be willing to kind of bounce that back and forth. Any idea with additional follow-up for people I've given proposals to that are too large a scope? I'm having a hard time actually connecting after I send the proposal, and also thinking that from now on I should give them proposal in a live online meeting so I can influence the process. Absolutely. That's exactly what you should do, Denise. You should say, hey, I've got your proposal ready. We should meet for 5 minutes or whatever on Zoom, something where you can do video even, so that you can see people's faces, and it's definitely a way to you know, get your win rate up, because if you just throw the number over the fence and they run away and never respond to you anymore, this is one way to kind of get it back to you. I've been using any meeting. I have 10 to 15 listening out, and then I email out the reply. That's pretty good. I mean, that's not bad numbers. What you can start to do is you might want to consider a podcast, because you'll get more downloads than 15 for sure, and it'll actually start growing your list in the other direction if you guide people to a particular site. Any tips for nurturing members between live on meetings, not Slack? Facebook group, we could do that. Facebook groups are pretty powerful. What suggestions would you have to grow it or earn more customers? ConvertKit, more votes on that. Okay, I will take the course, earn more customers. There you go. I almost did a shorter blog, 10 year-end, end-of-year success rituals. Is it more in line with what you have been teaching? Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do that. I mean, hi, Deanna. I could tell you that it's definitely it's definitely one of those things where you can get people to. This is if you look back, I just showed you a little glimpse of this, but if you look back on my newsletter over the last little while, it is it's pretty indicative. There's a theme going on, and you know, it's not like you're supposed to be some kind of Chris Brogan fangirl or boy, but listen to these. The best time to start something new. Don't bother learning anything new. Those were back to back. Snips, which is like our tapas. Movement is life. I want to get better. Business is all about the gaps. The resistance is real. Find the angle to earn attention. Social media failed. From here to there. The bite is the new unit of measurement. The future, the future is small, direct, and diverse. All of these have the theme of small, 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 simple, one serving deal, blah, blah, blah. There is a huge, super important detail in here that I'm saying, which is get really specific and get really into one specific way that you're going to help people. And that's what we all have to chase. It's all of us. It can't just, you know, that's what people are consuming out there. That's what people want. All the trends are pointing to it. Anything that's showing any kind of success is something that's really narrowly focused on one bit. And then after that's grown strong enough, then it moves on to other pieces or is held by some other entity that can handle that narrow thing. But too many of us are going too wide and too shallow, and the internet is revolting. All the humans don't care anymore, and they're skimming your stuff the way you're skimming other people's stuff. When you feel like you doubt me, think about how you manage your inbox and realize how much stuff you delete and skim or don't bother looking at. That's how you know. And if you're the kind of person who reads every single thing that comes to your inbox, you have way more time than most humans. Why don't I get James off Twitter to write in a similar bite? If I could get James to do anything I wanted him to do, that would be on my list with several other things. How did you get to Feedly to look like a list? Oh, Deanna, you want to see my cool super tricks? So on Feedly, this is the view that you have, and then there's a little button up here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. There's a button to the right of the checkbox in the recycle. It says change layout. You click that, and it says title only view, magazine view, cards view, article view. So when I click all, it is title only view. So that I'm using my keyboard. I'm hitting N for go down. I'm hitting O for open. Oh my gosh, that's funny. The White House's Christmas decor looks like it's straight out of a horror film. That's really funny. So then down. Oh, and then Deanna's next question right under that, which I didn't see, was never mind, I just found it. And not that I did that in a while I was listening to you. How have you implemented accelerated mobile pages on your site? I haven't yet. They said it's not something that they offer on their platform. Yeah, I don't have it implemented on my site yet. I think it's something really important, and I don't have it yet for that site. I will do it on my StudioPress site. You know, the way I'm going to do it, there's a few ways to do it, and the guys at Stone Temple, Eric and Mark, have some of the best advice on that stuff. So I would start looking at some of their stuff, and then you might do some work with Stone Temple. So these are pals of mine. I'm going to send you this link. Oh, David, I just deleted your question. So I'm going to put it down in the chat box, which is a little lower on the screen. So there we go. Carolyn says, I want to get into live video, but I have terrible upload speeds, so my lives are not always the best video quality. I do art videos, so I want to do HD quality in a perfect world, but I don't live there. In live videos, are people very understanding of those SD fuzzier qualities videos? No, not really. There's a few ways around that. One is if you have the option for slightly better bandwidth, do that. If you have the option to shut everything down but Facebook for while you're doing that live video, do that. If you are a Mac user, definitely use Ecamm Live. I think this will show up on my screen. Definitely use Ecamm Live. It's, oh, that's my video. How come I can't see me? Oh, okay, I can't use the camera because there's something else using the camera. Duh. So Ecamm Live is a really thin, slender Mac app for like 26 bucks. And even if you have a bad stream, it'll record a good version for you on your local. So you could definitely do that sort of a thing. ActiveCampaign versus ConvertKit. They're both fine. They're both great. I don't know anybody over at ActiveCampaign, and I'm friends with the guy at ConvertKit. I never like Mac versus PC. I don't care. I can tell you that you can run Microsoft Office on a Chromebook now, so you can get pretty cool use out of that. I like the Tapas content idea for blog posts. Can you name a couple examples of newsletters or blog posts you like that are super short and focused? Yeah, so there's this guy. He's kind of weird looking. He's got a website, and when he does his little videos, they are basically tapas shaped, because if you look at them, there's one sentence each or two sentences for each link, and that's it. That's the whole post. That's pretty tapas sized. And then a little video that you could play that's, in this case, 13 minutes long. That's tapas video. That's tapas blog post. There you go. That's two examples of that. Who else is doing it? There's tons, but it's not like I subscribe to a lot of people's newsletters, because that would be depressing. But those are some. With all the Facebook groups you've created, how about releasing a course to guide us through the process? No, because, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, I'm making kind of a weird face because there's just not a lot of there. So, hey, John Ackley. No, I don't want to turn on these. So, let me just close all these, because evidently I haven't been on this desktop's Facebook in a while. With Facebook groups, it's just as easy as you go to the groups tab, and why can't I click this? Oh, because I'm not grabbing the right part. You go to the Facebook's group tab, you click the group button, and you hit start. And then the real super part of Facebook groups is basically just trying to get people to do the thing you ask them to do. So, for instance, my most successful one would be the secret team, and I would say that, with the 14,047 members, which is really funny because I promoted it today and 12 more people joined, but it looks like about 16 more people quit. So, with Facebook, what I can tell you is that if you set it up to a sort of like a single serving kind of requirement, then that kind of works really well. But beyond that, I don't have a lot of good success stories for it. I don't know how much to tell you about that. Not enough to make a course. Oh, well, I'm glad, Deanna. Yeah, so we can't push Rainmaker, David, because they're not supporting it anymore. That's one other thing. How does blog and newsletter and Facebook Live correlate? Well, so they're all just different places that people can connect with something. So, for instance, if you go to chrisbrogan.com, it is my website. It happens to have a blog attached to it, and in it, there's a place where I have, oh, that's not the right one, but I use video from my channel. So this gets really crazy really fast, but let's say, let's go here for a second. Let's go to a new drawing. I like using drawings sometimes. So with everything in the whole universe, what you're ultimately trying to do is you're trying to, in the land of digital marketing and making business in the digital sense, you're trying to grow your list. Your list is gold. That is the most important thing you should be doing. Bar none, no matter what, every single other thing you're doing should tie to the list. The list is everything. Okay? So here's the list. The list is like the word for my religious friends. So what one does is one spends their time thinking of ways that they can get somebody to come and spend some time on the list. And so the way I look at it is like this. You have a home base, you have outposts, and you have different ways to attention assets basically to get people there. So the home base is your blog per se, your thing on the main website that gets people to come to you. The newsletter is what runs your list. So when I say the list, that's kind of your database peoples. But what I'm also saying is that that list is your way to reach them through your newsletter. So let's just sort of put list and newsletter down here together like this. And so what you are ultimately trying to do is that any other thing you're spending your time on, your goal is to drive people's attention back to here, to your home base. So let me find a couple arrows. Oh, I have the wrong button. So I get people to come here. I'm using the wrong tool all of a sudden. So then I might have a blog, I might have a video, I might do something like Facebook Live or YouTube, it doesn't matter, who cares. And ultimately, you're trying to get this kind of a flow going so you can communicate with people on your list. Everything comes back to that home base. Everything comes back to your site and getting people to join your list. Now, you can make a video that says, hey, come get my list. It does not matter if it lands on your home base. Your home base, however, the difference between that and a video is your website kind of is where your best search optimization exists. It's where the best chances are to catch someone's eye and earn their attention, and it stays there the longest. So things like Google Juice from searching comes about. So everything I ever try to do for you ever since like 2006, 2005 is, hey, get somebody to get onto your list because your email, and every time I say list, in case you're still not sure what I'm saying, your email subscriber list specifically for your newsletter and or sales letters. That is 100% the goal of everything that you should be doing with your digital presence. So when you have these kinds of things, the other sort of layer of this, so these are attention assets. The other layer is things like, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that kind of crap. And what you're doing is you're saying, hey, people of Earth, I have this cool new podcast episode you might like. Or, hey, people of Earth, I shot this cool video. You should check it out. And in those, what you're really trying to do is get people to come in some way or another to join your list. So this is how it all flows towards your intention, right? That's the real goal. So hopefully you find that interesting. Hopefully that makes sense to you, Brenda Lee, and your question. But that's always the goal. So, Bob had asked a question early on, where should I focus my time? Build your home base, develop your list. Build your home base, develop your list. Get people to come and grow by joining it in some way, by attracting them with some kind of asset that makes them go, oh, I should totally be part of this person's world, right? So part of your world. Hopefully that makes sense. Hey, Lisa, take care. Thanks for being part of this. I appreciate it. And that is it. That's all I have for questions. So unless you want to throw a couple last minute questions at me, I've run out of questions from the queue. So we're done. We're birds. We can fly away. But hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that was interesting. With regards to, like I was just saying about the growing the list and sort of what I've been pointing out in the newsletter and that sort of a thing, one of the things that's really important is you've got to pay attention to how do you develop ways to really help your buyer in some way or another. What are you doing that's going to make that person pay more attention, feel like they want more of your time and attention because they want to really connect up and do something more with you. If you don't have any way to reach them or message them or connect with them and offer them some kind of value, then you're kind of in a doomed scenario. My question was more about interviewing or finding a good accountant. Oh, That's a great question, except I'm pretty sure I don't have anything like that. Newsletter is kingpin? Yes, absolutely. More than anything in the world, Brenda, you want to have a super newsletter. Hey, Chris, what about using free mini courses? Yeah, you can do that if you want. I would say that free is a great way to develop a bunch of people who you know for sure will pay you $0. I think that that's one way you could develop your list if you want, but I find that once you start doing that, within reason, you're not going to get a lot of yield from it. So I think what I would much more recommend is finding ways to have them spend some time and doing some more value. I have a blog and YouTube and social media. Great, except that that means you can't message those people when you want to, and that they have to choose to come and spend time with you. So I would develop a newsletter list. I have evergreen content. Are you a fan of using older content mixed in with newer content on social media? I think that evergreen content is the majority of everything I write for that reason. But if you mean older, no. I'd say keep working on new material. I would say that it's really important that you keep developing content. When I see that someone only has a little bit of content and they're resharing it all the time, I think that that person doesn't have very many ideas, and I don't tend to value their ideas. If you're not bursting at the seams to share stuff to help people develop their businesses or their lives or whatever you're working on, you know, I would say that that's a challenge. What happened with weekly office hours? That's a great question. I haven't really seen a lot of feedback from any of the other stuff I did, so I'm just kind of waiting to see what anyone says or doesn't say. What happened was it just sure didn't, you know, didn't seem to have a good response per se. We might do it again just to try it out again, but we'll see. Is the only difference between a newsletter and blog that one is by email? No. That's a really good question. So you can send your blog by email, but if you make your content so that it's on the web and also in your newsletter, then people usually opt to unsubscribe from your newsletter because they can just go get it on the web when they feel like it, which is usually never. So what you're going to want to do is get people to come and spend their attention with you where you want them to go. So on the web, I always tell people, and I've said this for so many years, I forget when I started saying it, is you blog for Google and you write your newsletters for people. So hopefully what that means in your head is that when you blog, you write posts that people will catch on are something that may or may not be of value to them, but that Google would, you know, someone may or may not be Googling for something like that. And then when you send a newsletter, all you're really trying to do is get people to pay attention to the modified. Okay, what you want to do is you with Google is get people's attention via search. With the newsletter, you're just trying to give them the content that they want. Are they both short? I would say that almost everything you write from now on should be short. I'd say that, you know, all the stuff I've been writing about human attention span, if that hasn't clicked in yet, go back again. People's attention spans are shot. I wouldn't even bother. It took me a long time to finally do that, to create content that is for newsletter only, but I started 2 newsletters ago. I'm curious to know what the feedback will be. It might take you a little while before you start getting some feedback, but I would recommend it. Again, the thing is, once people can get your everything all over the web in a million different places, they don't have as much reason to comment back. My chrisbrogan.com content with my video and all that, that video gets recorded live on Facebook. Here's one. So this video gets recorded live on Facebook, and a few people show up to that, you know, 5, 6, 10, often the same people, which is interesting. And then some number of people are subscribed to my blog, and they get this sent out in the mail with all the links in it and all that. But then by far, the most attention and action response I get is through my newsletter. So that would definitely be, you know, me using that graphic to kind of demonstrate that's where the value would be. My article about the 10 best designers is going to be long. I don't usually write long, but I want to split it up. I don't want to split it up. Yeah, no, it should definitely be long. When do you do the Facebook live video? I've never seen any time when scheduled. Usually it's around 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern time. There's no way for me to notify on that. That's one thing that Facebook hasn't really set up, is to make it really easy for you to come and get it. Are they similar topics, newsletters or blog, one expanded or the other totally different? So I write my blog totally different than I write my newsletter, but still within sort of the same family of intent. So my big story, the Chris Brogan, me this is what the world wants. Right now, the best way to explain it is I'm trying to help people improve the buyer experience in some way. So how do we use tech to drive better human interaction? How do we use media to connect with people in better ways? How do we make content and community yield a good marketplace? That's what we've talked a lot about right now. And so in these cases, my newsletter tends to point towards trends that are coming in the future. So for instance, in this post, I'll tell you what the stories were really quick. Real estate as an interaction is a still fairly old-fashioned arcane setup. Blockchain might very well change a lot of how that's done. So I point people to, hey, go check out blockchain because boy, oh boy, you're going to want to know about that. We are working fewer hours than our parents and grandparents, so why do we feel busy all the time? So that's going to show you some information about why we're kind of feeling overwhelmed. The answer is your phone, by the way. What do most customer-focused businesses in the world do to fix their customers' issues? They think about latte. And it's a whole bunch of different companies' ways of and acronyms for how they approach the apologizing and acting state. Oh, that's interesting. I have some broken links on my site. I wonder what these are for. So then there's John Ackley posting the documentary about the origins of your food starring Zooey Deschanel. John also shared food is being grown in shipping containers. So I cover a variety of stories. I can tell you the sort of secret trick behind what I do for this show, the brief that I've made, is that the topics all fall into a handful of areas. So blockchain and AI, sometimes cryptocurrencies, some plant-based news, and almost always at the end something like cosplay or something super nerdy, and then sprinkled in just a little bit of kind of cool nerdy businessy stuff that we can learn from as well. And I have 11 of these posts every single time I put one of these up, and that's how it does. So that's how my newsletter works. That's how my blog works. My newsletter, I go through a very specific concept in sort of not deep depth, but in a little bit more information, so you can start going, oh, I really ought to think about that. So this last Sunday newsletter, the future is small, direct, and diverse. The point is, single food restaurants are on the rise, meaning there's not exactly one item, but they have a pure focus. Like Bauhaus in New York sells these little Chinese street dishes called bao, which are like a little foamy little taco thing with a little some filling in it, and that's all they sell, and some taro fries, and that's it. Shake Shack has like shake burger fries, period, have a nice day. All these things have menus with under 10 items. So I point to this stuff to say, you really ought to start looking at your business like that. So then I say, Brenda, you really ought to look at your business like that. What's one really specific thing you could sell that's like the Dollar Shave Club of your business? And I think people need that. So that's how those things differ. Hopefully that helped. It's helping with the tone for some reason. If only for a newsletter, it's lighter and more conversational. I love that. I put all my energy into writing my blog. Great. Listen, every time I give you a piece of advice, I'm telling you what works mathematically and with money and whatnot. I'm not telling you what you like or don't like or if it's hard or not hard. I'm saying, hey, this is how people operate. And people don't buy as much from a blog as they do from buying from a newsletter because they're in a different state of mind. Opt-in course for free resource users, which was your idea to differentiate free from paid, is going live in the few next weeks. Currently, there is a shorter email intro with more details on the web. Any ideas to make this free course have a greater perceived value? I would go right up front and say, hey, look, I'm a vet. I charge people for my time and my money. I charge people money for my time. These are the kinds of questions that are going to help you get ahead of the game. You're going to save time and money on going in to get treatment from any particular vet, and you're going to save money on really expensive procedures you might not need. You have a lot of pet owners and lovers. Jane is an absolute cat fiend. I am sure there are times when Jane wishes she knew the vet's perspective before she goes in there. How often do you suggest posting what Yoast calls cornerstone content? At least twice a month. I think that's probably a good amount of time for that. Joost is a good guy. I met him in Utrecht in Amsterdam area a long time ago in the Netherlands. Super nice guy. How do you balance personal appearances, video conferences, etc., at which you're a speaker or personality, with text-based or photo-based e-news content? A great newsletter is interesting, but it's even better when someone knows the person behind it. I love this question, Deborah. I think that what's great about things like podcasts and video and all that kind of stuff, the reason I show my beautiful face as often as I can in video form and audio form, is that people can get a sense of who I am behind the newsletter. I can tell you that one of the things that I try to do is when I write my newsletter, I try to write it very personably, but there's so many people that when they meet me in person, they're like, oh my gosh, you are really funny, And I always think, I swear I put this out in my newsletter all the time, but no one really thinks I'm funny, I guess. So no. Brenda's asking, do you share a lot of articles in your newsletter with outside links? Do you get my newsletter? I think you probably get my newsletter. The answer is no. I almost never share outside links and articles in my newsletter. Almost never. How often newsletter? Sunday. Again, you get my newsletter. You get it every Sunday, like religion. Deanna, by the way, unrelated, but was tweeting for my psychologist client. New study shows exercise makes your brain grow bigger, as opposed to blog. Yeah, my blog's got a mountain of links right now. Not tweeting during your webinar earlier today. Got it. Just to clarify, so from your experience, the blog is great for building trust, brand awareness, but the selling actually happens from the email list. A lot more often than not. I almost never get a click off of my blog for something, but I very often get a sale from my newsletter. Explain more, please, about cornerstone content. How would you define it? It's that kind of content that once you write it, people are going to come to it all the time. 100 blog topics, I hope you write, is the #1 post on my blog, and it was written in 2007. It's actually why I have courses. It's why I have everything. So there's 100 blog topics with a bunch of ads that no longer exist. Oh, I have ad blocker on. That's why this isn't showing, because I have ad blocker on my own site. I'm like, how come I can't see anything? What's wrong? Why is my site busted? I have ad blocker on because this is the new Firefox, and it's built right in. I'll fix it later. So anyway, that's cornerstone topics. I mean, that's cornerstone content because everyone keeps coming. It's just good stuff that makes people come back for it more and more. Am I running this right off of your Mac with a Mac camera? Yes. What microphone do I use? Oh, I love when people ask me that question. I use the Blue Yeti, so I'll send you a link. Blue Yeti. And yes, it's just my plain old Mac camera. What are the social media icons next to your daily posts next to my daily posts? I don't have any social media icons next to my daily posts. I don't like social media icons because what I find is that they tend to point people away from my site. So I'm not in any way a very big fan of sending people away from my site when I want them to take an action with me. So do I have those on chrisbrogan.com? Because if so, they're just there by mistake. No, if they're the ones that say share the post, then they're not so bad. But if they're the ones that say, go find me, then I'm not so big a fan of it. When you say what are they showing, like the fact that only one person shared this to LinkedIn, I never care. I never measure those. I just look for did I see more traffic come on a sales offer or something. Good quality, thank you. I shared that post with your permission in a blog training I did somewhere in 2008 or 9. There you go. See, the gift that keeps on giving. Think about how old that is. 2007 is 10 years ago. And I wrote that post. I could write 100 blog topics posts. I could write one probably every day. I could write probably 1,000 blog topics every 10 days. And you know what? I don't know if it would still have the same impact, but it's kind of fun to do. My pleasure, Brenda. All right. Anything else, or are we all good? I think we're all good, but I don't really know. There's no more questions in my queue. I have shut my laptop lid because there was no more emails forwarded from Rob, so I presume that's all we got. So looks good to me. I'm happy. If you're happy, we can all be good. If you have any other questions, you can always send them right to me, chris@chrisbrogan.com. You can always use that beautiful Slack group that we have that lies fallow most days, where hundreds of your great insider friends could message you back and forth, and you could share business questions anytime, not just once a month. As always, thank you so much for being part of this. So glad you're here. Means the world to me, and I will let you be for now. Catch you later. Bye.